basically, in talking about alien agenda, we have to also be talking about what occurred over here. This is the Bikini Atoll test. Now here we have an actual extremely large, in quote, mothership right at the point of neutron flash cloud. That's like 2 or 3 10,000ths of a second after the initial blast. And of course, the date of this was 12 July 1946. As we all remember, if we read our history on UFOs and how they started, it wasn't really known. As a matter of fact, after Roswell, we remember that there was a Senate hearing and a House of Representatives hearing, a closed-door session hearing, but a little bit leaked out in the public, and it stated that the government knew nothing about UFOs prior to that time. And these pictures, these different pictures with UFOs actually in the pictures, actually with the original language, show that, I'm sorry about that, actually show that the government lied to the Congress of the United States. They knew full well what was going on at least a year prior. Of course, I believe the Roswell incident was 2nd of July of 1947. This occurred, of course, 2nd of July. I think the earliest A-bomb blast, 12th July, 12 July 1946, almost a full year before they were supposed to know anything. And here we have these streaks, and these are the classic discs that have all been pictured like this. Kind of look like the Top Hat series, as I call it. And of course, they're kind of coal black kind of thing. Of course, some of them have a radiant, atomic propulsion system underneath it. Those streaks have all been confirmed as being just that. They're a Type 3A flying disk. And we have these small white dots. White dots, by the way, these guys here are receding from the ocean, taking the trajectory. They're getting out of there in the worst way. They'll probably not make it because of the radiation factor, but they're exceeding at speeds in excess of 13,000 miles an hour, and the white dots are exceeding 30,000 miles an hour as they're leaving, and they have actually changed the color. They've almost gone out of scope, and you're seeing a photograph, very rapid photograph of a blurred image. Some of the photographs go from a black splash or dash to this white dot system, and then they go out of scope of what we call visual reality. And that takes some tremendous speed to do that. In this particular overview shot, which is an extremely rare photograph of an atomic blast, as far as I know, this is the only one ever shown to the public of an overview of any kind. There are small dots and dashes, basically, as I'd say, and these are old garbage scows and ships and whatnot that they put in harm's way to see what the reaction would be of an atomic blast. And I'm sure the atomic testing was conducted predominantly in case we had to be prepared in using atomic warfare to fight alien influence, and they needed a cover story, so this was the Russians and the Cold War and everything was just a perfect cover story. Although it later became more than a cover story, as we all know. These particular photographs also show small dots and dashes, as I would say, and all of them have been confirmed. Now this black system here in the atomic cloud is actually time being ripped up, of course the atmosphere and the clouds and everything, and then time being warped by the initial blast itself, and that's by neutrinos going through and ionizing space, ionizing the atmosphere and whatnot, but exceeding the speed of light, so you produce an antimatter background and you get total blackness. And of course here we have another UFO similar to what it is here. During the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this is of Nagasaki. Down at the bottom we see the characteristic human face, which is typical of all A-bomb explosions over populated areas. You will always find a human face at the bottom of the mushroom cloud. Now, nobody really knows if this is just by coincidence or the makeup of the cloud or whatever. But these little dots and dashes, these white dots and dashes, are receding at better than 30,000 miles per hour, and they're UFOs leaving the scene. Japan was infested with them. Their Navy had counted better part of 2 million of them toward the closing end of World War II.
They said that there were real demons that they saw in that smoke, and it terrified them, and they started to break and they started to run. They saw destruction, fire, flames, and death. No airplanes, no crashes, but the faces of these demons. They saw what they would call as UFOs, and then explosions, and then these demonic faces appearing in the smoke and the flames. And what these demons are doing is that they are materializing themselves in the element, because they are feeding on the death and the fear and the blood that they have generated. And if you take a very good look at this, this is more of that. What the government did is that they knew the fallen angels were going to hit these buildings.
But once again, we haven't been told the truth on any of this. We've been right here, also in this picture, in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is of Nagasaki. Down at the bottom we see the characteristic human face, which is typical of all A-bomb explosions over populated areas. You will always find a human face at the bottom of the mushroom cloud. Now, nobody really knows if this is just by coincidence or the makeup of the cloud or whatever. But these little dots and dashes, these white dots and dashes, are receding at better than 30,000 miles per hour, and they're UFOs leaving the scene. Japan was infested with them. Their Navy had counted better part of 2 million of them toward the closing end of World War II.
I don't know. They have some guy on the phone who said it was either a 737 or an Airbus who witnessed the whole thing.
An Airbus?
Yeah, and...
No, an Airbus is too big.
No, but the thing is, when I look out the window, the whole, there were flames shooting out.
I saw that. That's not your fault, isn't it?
Window, the whole, there were flames shooting out.
I saw that. That's not your fault, isn't it?
Once again, it's all part of an alien attack of planet Earth. It's been going on steadily since World War II era. It's still going on, only now is subverted into large groups of human beings being actually abducted and implanted, and that's according to the Roper report, which is part of the Remington Rand Corporation, who did the reporting, the Bigelow Holding Company. Now they're in a third generation report, and of that third generation report that we've sent out to all the clinical psychologists in the United States, 110,000 of them, stated that basically women are being raped by aliens. And I know as fantastic as that sounds, it's backed up by John Mack, Harold Wire, who's an MD as well as a clinical person. John Mack is the most famous, but there's some 90 concerned psychiatric scientists who are trying to form an organization to prevent secrecy on the subject, because they have mentioned this is nothing but government-sponsored rape. And 99.3% are women, 0.7 or 0.7% are men that are abducted, implanted. So it's predominantly a female type monitoring system. So, once again, the alien agenda is to disturb the natural progress of the human race and to alien agenda means. And of course, there's another thing to mention: any outer space alien, regardless of who they are, how benevolent or how evil they are, they're a biological hazard because we have no defense against their germs. Absolutely none. In fact, they can kill us just by being around. I developed something like jungle rot. I still got it on my feet and on my back, and because of the Dulce, New Mexico thing, I get free hospitalization for the rest of my life. In fact, I'm a good guinea pig, I guess. But theoretically, that's from being around inside that cave at that particular time. That's the first time I've told any of you people that, but that's basically what it's all about. Now, the third part of the talk is the types of aliens. The large gray two large grays that I shot and killed. I can't tell you how ugly they were, and I can never tell you how graphic the stench was. But in the cave, there were large cauldrons or tanks. They kind of looked like a big oval cattle feeding tank, but they weren't. They were special, looked like a stainless steel or metallic tank. And they were filled with alien and human body parts, and generally glands and what looked like some kind of blood. Now, I've always been taught that blood after a few minutes starts to congeal, but this was one of these vessels in the melee had tipped over, and all this bloody liquid had spilled out. It was a mess, and it was definitely not coagulated. How they did this is anybody's guess. If we remember anything about cattle mutilations, we might also think that basically the blood in these cattle are totally drained out. There's no blood around, in quote, the murder scene of the cattle. So this might be the way they're doing it. Now, whether this is sponsored by our government or other governments is a good guess. If it were up to me, I'd say yes, we're in the thick of it. We made a pact with the aliens, and therefore we must know what their agenda is, and also the federal government must also further know that if they keep the big lie going, they must be in the thick of it in the worst way, and if that's the case, they're an enemy of gross concern.
It's a macabre mystery.
They must kill him instantly because there's no sign of struggle.
Something is killing cattle and draining their blood.
I hadn't seen anything like this before in my life.
But something else stalks these grassy fields, a mysterious and deadly predator with a taste for flesh.
The lungs were taken, the heart was taken out, and the leg was taken out.
His left ear was missing. His rectum had been cut.
And her genitals were gone and her ear was gone, so I knew it was a mutilation.
Eyewitnesses describe a consistent pattern. The cattle's udder, ears, eyes, and other soft parts are cut out. Blood is drained, but there are no signs of tracks, animal or otherwise, surrounding the body.
What's going on in Weld County, Colorado with them having a lot of changes and also having the most cattle mutilations in the whole world?
Cattle mutilations are government-sponsored alien operations and have been since they were first started in 1967. Actually, they were probably going on much earlier. And the upshot of that was the glandulars, we allow the aliens to extract glandular secretions from animals, mixing them with their own. In exchange, we'll give them plutonium products for their drive, for their spaceship drives, among making alien elements for them, and they give us the biological weapons. Isn't that a nice, horrible scenario? This kind of stuff is bad news indeed.